Welcome on into the Wild Willie Podcast Show. I'm Willie Claude, and he is
JJ, baby. What's going on with your big Willie?
Hey, JJ, I am doing well. How are you? I know you are extremely excited. The draft is over. A lot to talk about. We were going to jump into that. We are going to talk about JJ's Cowboys, my Steelers, obviously Shedeur Sanders, and the whole fiasco that took place over the weekend. But I have a confession. JJ, I went to Mexico City for the draft.
It was a draft you didn't, Big Willie. You bring some tequila back.
No. And I don't know why you keep trying to force liquor down my throat. We've talked about me and my sobriety for some time now, and you now have become a villain.
Now, Big Willie, I don't know how true it is, but so Gucci say, I thought you said Big Willie stopped drinking. I say, Willie ain't drinking. She say, yeah, he is. I'm looking at him on here. Big Willie, you wasn't drinking down there that way.
No.
That's what I thought. I don't know what she was looking at.
I don't know what Gucci saw. Maybe it was maybe it was a big Mexican that looked like Willie. But I didn't have 1 ounce of alcohol. I did have some non-alcoholic beer.
That might
maybe
be
that's what she saw.
That's what she talking about.
Right. Maybe
I gotta let her know.
Yeah. So it's funny. Like if you pay attention to a lot of the commercials as summer is starting to come upon us, you know, there's all these commercials with people on the beach and on yachts and beach parties. A lot of these beer brands are promoting non-alcoholic beer. It's like Ultra Zero, Heineken 0.0, Peroni, Stella. All these beers are now trending towards non-alcoholic.
Wow.
And even for a guy who goes to the supermarket, and because we always have people at the house, and I don't stop anybody from drinking. Like that's not what I do. Like if you want to drink and do whatever you do, fine, right? Like I get that. But I will, just to be social and kind of just have something in my hand, I will go to the store and get some non-alcoholic beer. Okay. And JJ, I gotta admit, and I don't know what it is like down in Mississippi where you're at, but there's a whole display, bro. Like there's a whole, before you, like non-alcoholic beer was like tucked away next to like Canada, like Canada beer. Like it was like kind of like off somewhere where you had to really go searching for it. It's not like that anymore. Like when you roll into these liquor stores and you go into these supermarkets, it's up there with like the premier stuff, the stuff that the Coronas, the Modelos, and the Heineken. Like it's pushed up there, so you no longer have to travel to the back of the liquor store next to the bathroom and around the corner from whatever illegal alcohol is stored behind there to get non-alcoholic beer. Yeah. It is front and center, so which makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm ahead of the curve, but at the same time, there's a wave behind me to kind of carry me through, and that I actually have a place in the liquor store to shop because I was a guy like most people. Like I don't know what's your favorite place to shop, but one of my favorite things to do when I did drink was to go to the liquor store and just see all the wines and tequilas and the mixed alcohol and the seltzers. I used to love going. It was kind of stimulating me. Okay. So now. That hasn't been ripped away from me. I can now still go to the liquor store, but I'm just not buying liquor. I'm buying non-alcoholic.
Do you feel like you get drunk when you're drinking non-alcoholic beer when you socialize?
No, that's because I had a cousin. That means I brought the wrong beer, JJ.
No, I had a cousin got down there, and he was a straight alcoholic, and I bought him some old duels. And he swore down he was drinking beer, talking about that was some of the best beer he ever had. And he thought he was really getting drunk. And when I dropped him off from work, everybody was laughing at him. He didn't understand why they were laughing and got done it. I told him, well, I hope you enjoyed that non-alcoholic beer. He said, you a goddamn lie. This ain't no goddamn non-alcoholic beer. And he looked at it. He told me, hey, you ain't none of my goddamn cousins. I ain't never going back to goddamn work gonna sit here and trick me like that. Got me drinking some non-alcoholic beer. And he was mad as I don't know what. He thought he was really getting drunk. So that's why I asked you that, Big Willie.
No, I don't get drunk off it. But I do. I've always appreciated the taste of beer. I know some people find it pointless to have a non-alcoholic beverage and not get anything out of it. I've always liked the taste of beer. Some of the beer companies like Guinness and Peroni and Stella, they've done a good job of like keeping that crisp and that signature taste without the alcohol. So I salute them on that. Nevertheless, I was in Mexico City once again for the 2025 NFL draft on behalf of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was floored, JJ. I was floored because I didn't realize, like being a former Steeler, being a part of the organization and having traveled, I was always amazed when we went to Arizona, San Francisco, especially out west, how much Steeler Nation was like vibrant and real. Like it was, they used to. I don't know if I ever told you this. A lot of teams wouldn't sell to our fan base because they would just black out the stadium.
Oh wow!
And so a lot of organizations like, we're not going to sell our tickets to these. So they would kind of do things to kind of suppress the ticket sales, especially when we came in town. On a whole nother level, to see on an international side, to land in Mexico City, to kind of walk around, which was beautiful. Mexico City was awesome, man. I stayed at the Intercontinental. The food was flawless. I probably gained about 20 pounds, so that's why I hit the gym. Yeah, I ate my ass off. And the food was amazing. And the people were really sweet. And the day of the draft, man, I was like, all right, I didn't know what to expect, I was just like, okay, meet and greet, shake hands, kiss baby type of thing. Man, these folks came out in droves, like waves. I mean, we pulled up. It felt like the Beatles pulled up. These people were black and gold out. They had the luchador mask. They had Steelers. And JJ, what's most, I guess I'm privileged. I'm privileged and blessed to have played on a historic team, but I'm also humbled because I've been retired since 2016. It's 2025. The NFL has changed in a multitude of ways.
Yeah,
I didn't think nobody knew Willie Colon or cared about Willie Colon.
Yeah.
Man, these people were just like shaking when they walked up to me, and I was just like, whoa. And I never get freaked out by fandom because personally, I've said this before, I just don't take it as serious as some folks, right? Like, I don't dodge and duck. And like, if somebody was to notice me, if you notice who I am, I shake your hand. Thank you. Take a picture if you want it short. I'm gonna keep it moving. Exactly. I don't avoid that type of interaction. But man, to see these people walk up to me and was just like, oh my God, Willie Colon, and I love watching you and all this other stuff, and actually knew about my career was humbling. Yes, and on top of that, I was accompanied by two current players, Keanu Benton, who's at number 95, one of our starting defensive tackles, and one of our defensive backs, Deshaun Elliott, who had a hell of a year this year for the Steelers. Both of them young studs were awesome. They made the trip fun. They were funny. They were young. I fed off their youth. JJ, for the first time, I felt old around young guys. It was weird. JJ, we were moving around, so we had an opportunity to obviously go to restaurants, but we went to a couple museums. We had to do some things for promotions, and they kept calling me old school. They was
no.
I said, God damn. They was like, hey, old school, what about this? Hey, old school, what about that?
God damn.
And I was just sitting there just like, damn, I guess I'm at that point in my life where I'm old school. And
yes,
they were talking, but JJ, they were talking to me like if I played when the goddamn Deacon Jones played, or when Hollywood Henderson played, or when Lawrence Taylor played.
Did you get into that as well before you retired? While you was playing?
A little bit.
Okay.
Because a lot of guys who I got drafted with and who I had played against was still in the league. So it was kind of, we were still in there. We just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've been removed for so long. These guys, they don't see me as a guy who was, I was around when Twitter started. You know what I mean? I'm not that old, but they made me feel old by calling me old school and goddamn unk, which it's a sign of respect.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. But nevertheless, the NFL draft for the Steelers was awesome. I appreciated the fandom. I appreciate the fans. And I also was kicking myself, JJ, why?
Yeah,
because I couldn't speak a lick of goddamn English. My broken, I couldn't speak a lick of Spanish.
Okay.
And being in Mexico with a last name Colon, people were just da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I'm just like, damn it. My childhood trauma stuff.
Hold up, you supposed to be learning that, Big Willie. You said that was one of your goals that you was gonna pursue, that you was gonna learn. And I said, Willie, that's a good thing because goddamn that motivation to me. Now, Big Willie, I know you knew how to speak and ask for something or tell them thank you or bring me the check or something.
Yes, I know how to say buenos dias. I know how to say baño, which means bathroom. I know how to say como, which means eat. Como te llama. I know how to say that, the basics. But the point is to have the conversation, and I lack serious skill in that regard. Another thing that was a highlight of my trip, JJ, we all each had security guards.
Oh,
right?
Wow, okay.
My security was a 5'7", she's probably smaller than that, 5'5", 5'4" Latina woman. And her name was, shout out to Nadia, who was awesome, super sweet lady. But I tell you, this lady, she looked like she walked around like I wish a motherfucker would, Jay. Like you had like trim, tight, hair pulled back, jet black, and she was super sweet to me. We got along. I was able to kind of, I had a day to myself, so I kind of was able to see a little bit of Mexico City. So I wanted to see a church. We walked to the church, and I kind of, prayed and really got to absorb some of the vibes and energy in Mexico City. And she was just walking next to me like a goddamn rock wall, like I wish a motherfucker would. And I was just like, it was so funny because when I sat down with Akeisha, I was like, babe, look at the security. I said, look at the type of security they got me. And Akeisha, and I showed Akeisha Nadia. She was sitting down next to me while we were eating, and she was like, that girl's small. I hope she got that thing on her. And Nadia looked at her like, don't worry about what I got. Like, like, trust me, he's in good hands. You ain't got nothing to worry about. And I looked at her, I said, okay, Nadia.
She might have been a black belt or something, Big Willie, fifth degree. You never know.
But
looks
Jay,
are deceiving.
But Jay, we talk about this all the time, like energy and demeanor, right? Like it's one thing to have confidence. Like I get that. Like some people could just walk in the room and exude confidence. She exuded like, I'm trained for whatever smoke you want. You know what I mean? Like however you want to do this, I'm trained for the shit. And we were talking and we were laughing. She used to do SWAT. She used to be a part of the SWAT that would bust the cartel. And so me being silly, I was like, you ain't bust no guns. You ain't never been shot. She's like, yes, I have. 3 times in the back. She showed. I was like, God damn.
Big Will, are you serious?
Yeah, bro. And so she's like real deal Holyfield, and she's protected some serious people. And I was like, it's one, that's why you never judge a book by its cover, right?
Yeah.
And 2, it was awesome to see her, like, because we were, first of all, I'm 6'3", 300 some pounds, right? I've been known to split crowds when I walk, right? She was walking next to me with the same type of energy. And a lot of the Mexican men that were looking at me, they were trying to figure the situation out, right?
Yeah,
because
like what you got her and big as you is, you got this little person
and she
right
was
here.
Just like boom, 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 boom. And I was like, she actually, Jay, for the first time in my life, she made me feel safe.
Hold on, Big Willie. Come on, Big Willie. Big man like you, Big Willie. The look one got there made you feel safe.
Jay, I can't explain it as well as I would like to. She made me feel like, you see Man on Fire with Denzel Washington? Yeah. And it happened in Mexico City.
Exactly.
I felt like the little blonde, little white girl. And
wow.
And I had
so that was your Teddy.
She was right.
That was your Teddy right there.
Jay, she was awesome, man. Like,
wow.
She was awesome, man. And I actually missed her because we actually got along. Like we bonded, right? We were talking about each other's families and the culture and all this stuff. So we kind of developed this friendship. And so shout out to Nadia, my security guard. But the Steelers, thank you once again. The Steelers took me down to Mexico City, so thank you to the Steelers, and I had a great time. It was a great experience, and I definitely would go back. Mexico City was awesome, man. But I did get sick on the way back.
Uh-oh. You ain't eat no oysters, did you?
No oysters, but they tell you, Jay.
Don't drink the water, Big Willie. Big Willie, you did not drink the water.
I don't think I drank the water, but somehow I feel like the water got me. And you know why? And as I play this back in my head, Jay, I was taking a shower, and I washed my face in the shower.
Did you brush your teeth with it? I may have
had my mouth open.
Did you brush your teeth with it?
No, they give you complimentary water.
Yeah.
And I brought water. So I knew that wasn't the case. But I think when I was in the shower and I had my eyes closed and I think the water got in my mouth. And it was the last day, Friday. I got up, I talked to Keisha and the kids. I did a quick push-up workout, packed my bags up. Nadia was downstairs. She was like, I'll pick you up at 9:00. I'm like, bet I'll be there. Got all the way to the airport, said bye to Nadia, checked my bags, got to do TSA. And Jay, as soon as I got to TSA, it was just like, whoa. I was like, the runs, I felt nauseous. I'm still recovering from that. Like today is the only day I've actually felt like I'm starting to come back to health. But over this past weekend, I was done.
You ain't had to go to the airplane bathroom, did you? When you was on your flight. Big Willie, you ain't go in there, Mr.
Jay, I threw up on the plane.
Big Willie, you had another incident in the bathroom on the plane.
Jay, I was in first class. I'm laying there. I got the sweats. I'm nauseous. I went to the bathroom, did my business, got back in my seat. I try to like relax. I try to drink some water.
Yeah.
And the lady next to me, this is what really triggered it. I don't know if it was like Cultural Appreciation Day on the damn plane, but it was like some lady was eating some curry chicken, right? Then some dude next to me had some Asian thing, and then it was turbulence on the plane, and my stomach was just like whoop, 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 and I was just like, wow.
So you ain't eat none of that. You ain't eat none of what they was giving you right there.
Oh, I couldn't even look at it.
Ooh,
I couldn't even look at it.
Not even smell it.
And it was a 4-hour plane ride.
Ooh,
and it was worse than that. When I landed and I told the Keisha, I was like, babe, I don't know what happened, but I feel ill. I don't feel good. She was like, well, your daughter must caught the same thing. My baby girl, Keisha brought the kids in to pick me up. She was sick. She shit and threw up all over herself as well.
God damn.
So Keisha was like, y'all two motherfuckers. Y'all got to figure it out. Y'all can't be sick at the same time. I can't take care of both of you. But she did. My wife is superhero.
That's good.
So that was my week, Jay. Enough of me. Before we take a break, tell the people what you had going on.
Well, Big Willie, I had date night this past Friday.
Date night?
Yes, Big Willie. We went and saw Sinister. We got down there was with Gucci's son. Our son got down there. DJ Two-Way got down there. His girlfriend. They done moved up into the new house. So we all got together, had date night Friday night, and went to see Sinisters. You got to see that, Big Willie. With Michael
we
B.
plan
Jordan.
to go see it sometime this week.
Oh, it's good, Big Willie. You gonna love it. And then after had to get my grandchildren where they flip-flopped on us. Got down to Saturday night. So Gucci had to babysit our granddaughter, Ira. She gave Gucci the blues and got done wore out and got done this Sunday. Gucci left me. At least I was there with Gucci. She had a housewarming that she had to do with an open house, got done it, left me. So I was with the grandkids myself, got done it. So they wore me the hell out, Big Willie.
They're gonna keep you young, Jay. That's one thing about having kids in the house. You can't sit on the couch because your house will be on fire.
Oh,
so you got to be up on your feet. And listen, one thing I know about kids as they grow older, they remember everything.
Oh,
there's things where my son and my daughter now, they'll say things like, Daddy, remember such and such, or this person? I'm like, that was like 4 years ago. How do you remember that person?
Yeah.
You were a baby, you weren't even talking, but they remember. Because I do think kids, they have this kinetic energy where that bonding time, they kind of, it wraps up in them, right? Like they just remember, like EJ is going to know, like weekends are with Papa. I don't even know why anybody else is here. This is what we do. So that bond that you continue to develop is going to go a long way. And I think he's now you just got, it's an expectation. Like there's no question that weekends are going to be at your house. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and then it was so funny you said that because I put him to sleep. Then he woke up. Then I had to put him in the car with Star. She drove off with him. I called, check on, see how they doing. He crying, talking about I won't go back with Paw. Yeah. So you're right.
Yeah, it's the male energy. It's his security blanket. You're his security blanket. So now you're his for life. That's it is what it is.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a break. Come on back. Why Believe Podcast Show. When that lady was cracking that chicken open and started cutting into it, I was like,
I know you were like, no, don't do it.
It was crazy. It was turbulence one. It was like curry chicken. It was like, so like imagine feeling nauseous. First, I don't like curry, period. I'm not a curry guy. I don't mind it from time to time, but I'm just not something I'm like big into. And this lady was just like carving this motherfucker. She was getting after it, eating it, and she was
that a plane given meal or she brought that on?
No, we were in first class. So everybody gets a meal when you fly longer than 2 hours.
Yeah.
So and then the guy next to me has some like the guy across has some like Asian shit, and I'm just taking deep breaths and I'm trying to, and you know how you start to get the fucking mouth sweats?
Yeah.
The saliva, your mouth starts like, and
I try to lay back and I was like, all right, just close your eyes.
That's how you know it's coming.
And then I'm having chills, I'm having body aches. I'm like, man, I feel fucked up. Man, I closed my eyes for like 2 seconds and I felt that turbulence. I smelled that food. That shit said, I said, oh no. And it just started. But I tell you what, as soon as I barfed, I felt like better.
You made it to the bathroom, right? Or did you throw up in the bag in your seat?
No, I threw up in the bag of my seat.
What?
Oh, really?
Right beside her?
Yeah.
God damn, Big Willie.
I was
sitting next to him. I've been looking like I know goddamn well he's sitting there throwing up beside me.
You didn't specify that you threw up
Why she
Like
would
in the
eat?
bag.
I had the window seat. She had the aisle seat. Once I got sick, I was already sick. I was already fucked up. And I try to close my eyes. And when I close my eyes and the smell and that turbulence,
It makes
I
it
just
worse.
grabbed the barf bag and I just yacked in the barf bag. And,
Did it catch it all?
Huh?
Did it catch it all at least?
Everything was in the bag. I had it like a face mask. And the lady next to me, she just was like,
She must have stopped
I
eating.
know she
was
was.
like,
she
she's
kind of
like,
looked
I
like,
can't eat anymore.
because it was loud. I was like,
You
and
should have looked at her like, this is your fault.
I wanted to be like, bitch, if you didn't come over here with this chicken breast curry, I would have fucking made it. The fuck? She literally she saw me throw up and she was just like, and put it down. And I was just like, I was like, I'm sorry. And then the stewardess came over. I was like, ma'am, can you give me a bag? She got a bag. She's like, I wanted to hand it to her. She's like, you can throw that away yourself. I was like, all right, thanks.
I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Yeah. And then once I
What
threw it
an
away, I had to
experience.
shit. I had to score. I was fucked up.
I know
I
she
should've
talked
like
about
I
you
should've
on
like
that
3 times
plane.
on that plane.
You were the main conversation when she got off that plane, Big Willie. She talking about that right now to the day.
Homeboy was stinking it up.
Man, I don't know. What's wild. I didn't feel none of this when I woke up. Like none of this. When I seriously, as soon as I got through TSA, it was just like somebody was like, you fucked up.
Big Willie,
hour fuck you up.
I hate to say it, but Britt, you got to put all this on the goddamn podcast. He didn't say it on there, but you got to add all this.
Welcome on back to the Wild Willie Podcast Show. I'm Willie Cologne, and he is
JJ, baby. What's going on with you?
JJ. It's time to talk football, as we like to do on the show. And the main topic around the NFL is Shedeur Sanders and the public execution we witnessed over the weekend. If you don't know who Shedeur Sanders is, he is the son of the most iconic athlete of my generation in our time, Deion Primetime Sanders. Shedeur was also a quarterback at Jackson State for a year or two, and then transferred and went to Colorado University, where he put up some big time numbers. I mean, I watched Shedeur play. JJ, you actually went to Boulder and seen him play. And unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan for Shedeur and his family. Shedeur Sanders, if you are a fan of the NFL, was projected to go top 5. If he was either 1 or 2 as far as rankings at the quarterback position. He was either 1 or 2. No, on a lot of different people's lists. I watched the kid. I like the moxie. I like everything he had to offer. However, because of how he approached his draft process, it rubbed a lot of people wrong.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders ended up dropping all the way to the 5th round, 144 to be exact. I think that's correct. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people was like, how the hell did this happen? And we've seen quarterbacks fall before, right? Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers, yada, yada, yada. But never to the 5th round.
Nah.
Jay, I sat there and I was like everybody else, I was floored. Before I give you my reasoning, my analysis, I want to get your thoughts.
Big Willie, you know that was fucked up. I'm just going to be honest with you, man. I'm just going to sit there and tell you. Now, of course, Deion is the confident man that he has always been. And of course, you know his son going to be the same way. But that's just their swagger, and that's just their style, and that's their brand, and that's just what they do. You just can't knock a man for just being confident. But Big Willie, I guess in the world that we live in today, you just can't be too confident for everybody, because them owners just straight put a shield up and said, you know what? Ain't nobody bigger than the shield. And I guess when Deion say, my son ain't going to no any team, and got done and he ain't going to the Browns, I guess probably was one of them that he mentioned, and the Giants. And I want to say, I don't know exactly how many of them that he said he wouldn't go to, but I guess he tried to pull an Eli on it, because, you know, Eli, daddy him said the same thing, or said certain teams that they wasn't going to go to. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, if they said it and it didn't affect Eli, why should it affect goddamn Deion? I guess we probably know the reason why. But the thing is, then you get up there, you got Shedeur, He's saying, goddamn it, do you know who my daddy is? You know what I'm saying? Like, if y'all ain't gonna get up here and you ain't gonna change the culture and the way it's playing, don't even pick me. And that road. I guess when a man got done and getting interviewed for a job, and you come in there like that, I guess you got to look at it as if you was hiring somebody at your restaurant, Big Willie. Would you hire this person and they telling you what they ain't gonna do and what they is gonna do, and they getting into your place of establishment, and you the one got to pay this man? So I can see, them feeling a certain kind of way too. But at the same time, Big Willie, I don't think goddamn it should have dropped that goddamn it far, like, I mean, it's a way you punish a man, but I guess if you look at their eyes, they saying, well, you know what? Since they feel like they're bigger than the shield, what we gonna do? We gonna use it both ways. We gonna get some publicity and got done to drop them down to the fifth goddamn round, because ain't nobody really just looked at goddamn it the draft past the second round really, and we'll got there and get all this publicity and get got there and make money off the ratings, and then send them to the goddamn team that is there to say goddamn he ain't wanting to play for no way. Big Willie, if that ain't got done and sitting there just pouring gasoline on the fire, I don't know what is, but I feel like he was robbed. They didn't do him right, but you can kind of see some of the reason why they did what they did. But god dang, Big Willie, I mean, shoot, I just don't have no answer for that. That I think it was done wrong, Big Willie. I don't think they should have did him like that.
Yeah,
Brand is his brand.
Yeah, we're in an interesting time, right? Because we just witnessed LeBron James clear lane for Bronny James.
Yeah.
Right. And Bronny James has done nothing but work his ass off to be as relevant and as a factor for the Laker organization as possible. Bronny James has said nothing, just worked. Mm-hmm. He let all the outside critics. We know the rift between LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith. JJ, I'm a fan of nepotism. Nepotism is a real thing, and I'm not going to sit here and say if I have a path or if I have a plan and a vision for my son, and he is as passionate and willing to participate in football, that I'm not going to use every ounce of my being to kind of lead away or kind of trailblaze away from. I get that. That's not, and I don't think anybody had a problem with the impact Dion has had on his boys, right? He's been coaching them since Pop Warner to high school to college. And here they are at the gate.
Exactly.
The moment. They've been waiting for so long. And as we watch this draft and as we kind of comb through how did this happen, and JJ, this is where you got to be careful, because this is a life lesson. This is kind of bigger than Shedeur. This is more of a kind of a life lesson. Because I sat there, listen, I sat there like everybody else. I thought he was going to be a Brown. He could have been a Giant. Didn't happen.
Pittsburgh.
I knew once he fell out of the top 6, because the Raiders could have took him, right? He has a great relationship with Tom Brady. Tom Brady didn't pull the plug. I knew something was up.
No, they said the round that he couldn't have went no farther was the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21. After he didn't go 21, they knew something had to be it was something going on.
Out of everybody's mock draft, they didn't have this man going past the 3rd round. Nobody. I mean, anybody that's ever done this for a long time, extended period of time is what I'm trying to say. Excuse me. Everybody felt like this kid, no matter what happens, he's going to get picked up by round 3.
Yeah.
For him to fall all the way down to 5 felt like, oh, this is a public execution. And this is where I said, okay, there's more to this. Because I don't blame Shedeur for what happened. He's obviously taking the instructions, like he's always done, from his father. Because his father leads his footsteps. Shedeur, all we know, is pretty much Prime 2.0. This is younger, handsomer, more, not athletic, but just overall just Prime 2.0. And it backfired. And it backfired in front of the world. Because I talk to people who are in the know, people who know about the process, and they said the kid simply didn't show up for the job. Bottom line. Because JJ, you can't, there's at least 6 teams that needed a quarterback.
Yes.
6, excuse me, I put it 5. 6 teams that needed a quarterback. I'm gonna name the 6. Starting with your Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys need a quarterback. Why? Because you got a 32-year-old quarterback in Dak Prescott that's coming off a torn hamstring, right?
Yes.
You just brought in a guy in Trey Lance, right, who didn't have a whole lot of football experience, but you traded a 5th rounder to get him, and then you ultimately shot him back out. I think Trey Lance may be in the Canadian League, right? If you're the Las Vegas Raiders, as I mentioned, Tom Brady knows Prime and knows Shedeur Sanders on a personal level. Tom is majority, like 10% owner. You don't tell me he could have picked up the phone? I'm looking at not only the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm looking at the LA Rams.
Yeah.
Because Matthew Stafford is an old quarterback, right? That's going to be out in the league in a year or two. You don't tell me they need a quarterback? And everybody was like, well, Willie, what about the Jets? The Jets went through enough damn trauma with Aaron Rodgers. They were like, listen. They was like, listen, the kid, you know,
he
brings a lot to the table, but we're not going to do it. The Giants, right? Yeah. The Browns. So with all that said, there were 6 teams that needed Shedeur Sanders' services. So I said, okay, there's got to be more to it. It's got to be more because I watched the kid play, and there's no secret sauce to him. He's not ultra mobile. He doesn't have Michael Vick or Jalen Milroe type of scramble ability, but he can get out the pocket. He had the same type of mobility as Cam Ward.
Exactly.
He can make every throw in the field. He's super durable. We've seen him take a ton of hits and get sacked a million gazillion times, right? And never been in trouble. And so everybody's like, they took Johnny Manziel and they do all this stuff. Those guys showed up to the job because the characteristics and whatever they did off the field, it never impacted them on the field. Meaning, when Johnny Manziel stepped into that in front of those owners, he sold them a bill of goods.
Yes. And he did way more.
And he did way more than he should have even been accepted into the NFL with some of the crazy shit he did, right?
Yeah.
But then you brought up the Archie Manning situation. What people would like to talk about. Let's be very clear. Archie Manning told Peyton Manning his junior year, don't go into the NFL draft because you're going to go to the Jets. And that organization sucks, and I don't want you to go through what I went through, son. And that's a ball player talking to his son, just like Deion talking to Shiloh. Got no problems with that. Because if you know anything about Archie Manning's career, he took a beat in New Orleans. If you turn on Archie Manning's highlights, it's him zigzagging around the field, playing chuck and duck a good portion of his career because they had nobody to protect him. He was their only weapon, right? So he's looking at his 2 boys. He goes, listen, I don't want that for you. As far as the Eli Manning situation, he told Eli, Eli was supposed to go to the San Diego Chargers, right? He calls up Ryan Leaf's daddy, who was the quarterback of the Chargers, and goes, hey, how is it in San Diego? Ryan Leaf's daddy tells him, don't send him. Because my son is dying in San Diego. He's getting the shit kicked out of him, right? So Archie Manning, who didn't coach his sons, just stood on the sideline, cheered him on, was like, hey, I'm gonna give my son the best advice possible. My 2 boys, the best advice possible. And if I can help them in any way, just like Deion did, I'm going to do it, right? It's too different. We got to stop using that one because it's a little bit out of context. Archie Manning also, I don't want to spill the sauce too much, made sure that the boys were prepared for that interview process, right? And this is what we got to understand. Deion thought because he was Deion and they had done enough that they didn't need to do anything else. And it backfired. Shedeur Sanders didn't throw or participate in the East-West Shrine game. He showed up in Dallas simply because he lives there, right?
Neither did none of the other quarterbacks that went number 1 in the drafts.
But on top of that, he also supposedly, while he was down there during that process, rented a strip club and just partied, right?
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
There's a lot of things that came with Shedeur Sanders. The problem is, it wasn't his confidence, man. People are like, well, he was brash. Coaches, you're dealing with some of the most elite players in the world. They're used to the cockiness, right? They're used to the brass. But when it comes to them X and O's, when it comes to, can I trust you to do your job? And can I trust that you're the best? I got to do my due diligence and make sure you know what you should know, right? And listen, everybody doesn't have the same skill set or has been taught the same. Shedeur has only had one coach. That's Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
When he got to University of Colorado, it was Prime, and then Prime walked through the door and said, "Hey, my son's the starting quarterback. Everybody, either you with it or leave." Kid's never had no adversity.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? He's never had any quarterback competition. Wherever Prime was, his son was the quarterback. And they made it work. Sure. But when you get to the NFL and you're dealing with owners who, one owner makes an annual $250 million a year. One owner out of 32 teams.
Yeah.
All of them make at least 250 more, plus.
Yeah.
So my point is, you got to show up to the job. You got to be prepared. If I send JJ, as much as I love you and Gucci, and as much as I appreciate you, and you be like, hey, man, if I'm like, hey, my boy needs a job, I'm going to make sure my boy's ready for the job, meaning he's going to wear a tie, a shirt, and a blazer. He's going to interview. Even if I know we have it in the back pocket that you and our relationship is gold, that you're going to bring him through the door. Coaches get fired when you hire a kid who in your stomach feel like, man, we're just taking him off his dad's legacy.
Yeah.
Because Shedeur doesn't scare you. He doesn't have elite athleticism like I said, Michael Vick. He doesn't have an insane arm like Andrew Luck, right? From the neck up, there were multiple opportunities where they needed this kid to show who he was outside of his daddy, and he didn't. And it hurt him. And what's crazy, it also humbled Deion, right? Because Deion thought his relationships, and because of who he is and what he means to the sports world, was strong enough to get his boy over the hump. And it backfired. I was saying, hopefully, with all that said, him selected where he got selected, he's humbled by it. And two, he maximizes his opportunity. That if he wants to use it as fuel, I get that. But he learns from it. Because right now, yes, there's a father-son relationship, and yes, there's a relationship from the standpoint where, his father pretty much kind of was his ways, his GPS, so to speak. But Shedeur now has to realize, I gotta take hold of my career. I gotta own this, and I gotta make it work.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know if you saw the same thing I saw, but it didn't look like the GM or the coach was excited about picking them when they showed that room and they signed.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I think it was day 3. Those guys have been they've been picking guys and dealing with free agents and having multiple conversations. I mean, the draft process is a long process. So I think by day 3, those guys were just exhausted. I don't know and I don't think it was a slight towards Shedeur. They're in quarterback hell. They just put the world on Sean Watson's shoulders, and they don't even know if he's going to be healthy to play next season.
They say
right, so they're trying to get right. And what's crazy, they drafted a quarterback before Shedeur.
That's what I'm saying. Out of all the quarterbacks, that's what get me. Everybody know it's. I mean, I understand you sitting there doing what you did. Well, I kind of understand and kind of don't. But at the same time, you drafting quarterbacks that ain't even on the level that Shedeur was with stats and everything. Like you trying to teach them a lesson. They showed this guy that the Saints guy got done in training camp and stuff that did go to the combine and was throwing bubble balls and out throwing the man and not doing nothing. And you mean to tell me y'all pick him instead of Shedeur? It's like y'all had a chip on your shoulder that y'all trying to prove.
Because JJ, they showed up for the job. Gotcha. That's what we're missing. When the interview process came, they showed what they knew and what they could do, right? When you're an offensive coordinator, you understand a quarterback and offensive coordinator, those guys are hip and hip, right? Mm-hmm. Because the offensive coordinator is now an extension of this quarterback. So when I talk to my quarterback, I need to know whatever I'm regurgitating that he understands, I trust he can do, and he can run this offense. Because if he can't do it, guess who's out of a job?
Yeah,
me,
coach.
Right? And so at the end of the day, your quarterback is always going to be the face of your franchise. Yeah. Like I said, I don't mind the kid's confidence. I don't mind him being kind of like, had that swag about him. That means nothing to me. But when it comes in between these lines, and I need you to guide 53 men, when I need you to step in that huddle, that you're talking we, not me. And I also need to trust that you can do your job at an elite level because your quarterback is the only guy on the field who has the outside of the center has the ball in his hand every play on offense.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that because you play NFL. And by you being a lineman and got a block for a quarterback, based off all the stuff that's going on with Shedeur, and he's a rookie. Now, I know how people is about rookies. They don't care if you're a receiver, lineman, or a rookie is a rookie. How will a veteran line that got a guy like Shedeur, they say that's cocky or whatever, come in, how do he earn the respect of his linemen coming in where he can be that guy?
By being great at your job. But the problem is trust, right? Mm-hmm. Like, as an offensive lineman, I got to trust that you got to trust that I can do my job, and I got to trust you can do your job. And in order to do your job, you got to prove it. It's not about what you say, right? It's about what shows up on film. It's about production. And yeah, Shedeur had the numbers. I don't want to negate that. But you have to tell the bosses, the people that write your check, the people who operate, they got to believe you can do your job. You just can't say this is what I do, take it or leave it. It's the NFL. You know how much the league gets bigger and bigger year by year. And they got to trust that this young man could do his job. And he didn't do the due diligence. It's a process. When I got drafted, as we stated last week, I interviewed for 22 teams. Mm-hmm. I showed up in a suit and tie. I was poor as hell. I was broke as hell. I was usually taking my agent's money, going to a cheap suit store, and I brought like 3 or 4 suits, and I put my best face forward. And I wasn't the smartest. They put me on the board. I didn't know everything, right? They know that. They know what I do know, but they're gonna ask me. They don't know what I don't know. They're only gonna ask me what I do know, and they're gonna expand upon it, right? So he goes from classroom talk. They talk about your character, your background, and then what you can do on the field. They evaluate all that. So if they're gonna hand over a franchise to a young man, he has to. All those lights got to go off, right? Like all those things got to hit. If I'm going to hand you a franchise, a city to operate, to lead men, and if there's any like, listen, can't happen. You know what I mean? So I feel bad. I feel bad because I wanted to see Dion win. I wanted to see Shedeur win. I didn't want to see that because being a part of that draft process, even being considered as high as he was still an honor, right? Like prior to this, 2 weeks prior to this, we were talking about this kid going top 5. Nobody in the world thought this kid was going to land at 144 in the 5th round. Nobody thought that. Only one person, and I think it was Delaney Walker out of tight end for the Tennessee Titans. He said it. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, man, I hope this is something that Shedeur, he takes in, and he hopefully gets better from it. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the opportunity and what you do with it. There was something that also happened that kind of broke my heart. It was a tumultuous day for Shedeur Sanders, and then he got pranked.
Oh, man, that's low down. Yeah, Big Willie. I mean,
and it broke my heart. And I think we have the video. Brick, can you show it?
Hey, is this Shedeur? This is Mickey Loomis here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints. How you doing? This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. Been waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man. We're gonna take you with our next pick right here, man.
This game doesn't do nothing to you.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man. Sorry about that.
What does that mean? What? What did he say? I don't know. How you gonna ask us what it means and you was on the phone? You heard that?
You said you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Why did he call? What the fuck?
All right, JJ. So that was Shedeur getting pranked. What's unfortunate about this is not only was it blasted all over the internet, Jeff Ulbrich, the former defensive coordinator for the New York Jets, who recently just got fired from the New York Jets, just took on the new defensive coordinator position with the Atlanta Falcons. Well, his son is the one that pranked Shedeur Sanders. And all reports show that, listen, they traced the call, they tracked it. It looks like his son happened to be in the office and found Shedeur's number off an open iPad that I guess had all the cell phone numbers of everybody who was drafted, who they potentially wanted to draft, of all the draftees, if you will. And this was damaging, and on a number of levels, because Jeff Ulbrich not only played for the Niners, not only played for the Falcons, is a coach. And his son just maybe, I don't know, the rumors, may have cost this man a job because this is a breach. And I feel bad for Shedeur because I was a guy who was drafted in the 4th round. If I would got pranked, there's no doubt in my gut. If I found out who did it, who pranked me, I'm gonna punch him in the face.
Yeah,
because it's a sacred time for the ball player, and it's come to find out multiple people had been pranked that day. Tyler Warren, the stud tight end out of Penn State, was also pranked. Kyle McLeod, this is the quarterback out of Syracuse, he was pranked. So it looks like Shedeur wasn't the only one that got pranked on draft day. But at the end of the day, man, it does feel like Shedeur took more than the beat, man.
Oh, yeah.
It was brutal to watch.
Yes. Big Willie, it's messed up. I mean, something needs to be done because one thing about it, I can tell you, if it had been one of us, you better believe you got done it. It'd still be discussed right now. If somebody ain't got locked, it wouldn't have been got locked up or something. I'm talking about, it would have been some serious punishment to for something like that not to happen again. And I must be honest, Big Willie, I'm looking forward to seeing how they gonna handle this situation, because if they can easily get to a number like that, then it can easily be done again. So what's gonna be a situation where it justified that this won't happen again? Because that would just low down. This is your biggest moment. This is something that you cherish. You waiting on this, and it's like you come all the way up to be brought back down, like they just trying to. Like the haters just trying to destroy this man got done it. Like they just trying to just bury him up under the
person.
To make them just say, forget football, man. You know what? It ain't even worth it. It's like that's how they trying to bring this man down.
They definitely, it felt like they were trying to break him in half in front of the world, and I agree with that. But Britt just put in the chat, she's cleaning us up. She said they're not taking any disciplinary actions towards Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. It looks like they're going to review protocols and figure out that this, one, doesn't happen again, and two, that, at the end of the day, not only, they just going to make sure it's not going to happen again. I don't want to kind of just keep stumbling over the word. But also, I want to say this. If I'm Jeff Ulbrich, because I know his son went on social media and kind of did this this texting, like, I'm sorry that I embarrassed Shedeur Sanders. I'm sorry I embarrassed my family. Bump that. No, right? If you had enough gall and enough nuts to put it on social media, I want you to fly your punk ass to wherever Shedeur is, which he's in Cleveland, spend your own money and shake that man's hand and apologize face to face. And record that.
Yep.
That's what needs to happen.
There you go.
Moving on, JJ, we got to talk about Bill Belichick. You know about him.
Belichick got done. That's a stud, ain't it? Got done here, a stud in the pastor.
Well, Bill Belichick was interviewed on CBS Sunday morning, and the whole interview seemed, it was awkward. So if you don't know, we've kind of talked about this from time to time, his girlfriend, fiance, however you want to call it, her name is Jordan Hudson. She's 25 years old, and she pretty much handles Bill on a lot of different levels. I'm gonna keep it like that. Nevertheless, he was being interviewed, and she kept interrupting because she felt like the questions were going too far. At one point, the interviewer asked Bill Belichick and said, "Hey, man, how did you and Jordan meet?" She shouted, "We're not talking about that. Move on." And in fact, she kept interrupting the interview. JJ, I don't know how to feel about this other than she was doing her job. Do you think she's out of pocket?
Man, let me tell you something. It don't need to be a situation where you can't even do your own interview where you got to get interrupted. I mean, god dang, Big O, ain't Bill the one supposed to be wearing the pants? I mean,
well, let's see. Well, I want to let's look at the footage and and you'll be the judge after this.
Okay.
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
Part of me feels, by hearing her response, it feels like she's a little more embarrassed about the relationship than Bill is. Bill is like, listen, I'm old as dirt. I got this pretty young thing next to me. I'm 25, who's 25 years old. Life is great. I'm one of the best coaches, if not the best coach of all time. I'm winning. I think for her, she receives more scrutiny because of Bill's age.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, Bill's one of the best football minds of all time.
Exactly.
Not the best looking dude, right? So she probably receives more like, you know, more hell for it than he does.
Exactly.
And I also want to say this. She's probably tired of having to defend herself or defend their relationship, and they just want to keep it straight ball. I don't know why people are interested. I thought it was water underneath the bridge at this point, but obviously not. It seems like there's some wounds that are open.
Or she got done and did something or whatever, however they met, got done that she embarrassed about that she just don't want to spit. You know, you ain't no telling how Bill really better. You know what I'm saying? Got done whatever, however he met her, must got his attention. But it seemed like to me, Big Willie, she treating Bill like a patient.
Like, why
I was just gonna be honest with, like she taking care of a patient or something. Like he, well, you know, just.
Well, listen, we all know Bill Belichick can be very cold and stoic.
Yeah.
Like that's just who he is. That's his demeanor. We've kind of seen more of his lighter side now that he's kind of removed from the NFL, especially we've seen a lot more during his time with Tom Brady and the roast and all that other stuff. So it's like, oh, Bill does have a sense of humor. Mm-hmm. But as we put it together, Bill's right. Like, Bill's like, I'm going to do what the hell I want to do.
Exactly.
Like, I bump whatever you guys talking about. And I'm glad she kind of took the same approach. Mm-hmm. But it felt defensive.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like...
genuine.
Yeah, well, they're just genuine, but it felt like, why are you asking the question?
Exactly.
Which is true. Yeah. But if you're happy about your relationship and you got nothing to be ashamed of, it was a question that you would ask. Like if I was on a couple, like me and you and So Gucci and all of us were kind of getting to know each other and we're eating dinner and we're having a steak dinner. Exactly. I would lean over to you or say So Gucci and be like, hey man, how did you guys meet?
And we talked about that because I asked you how you and Akeisha met. We talked about that and didn't have a problem with it.
Right. But the problem is because because of the position they sit in and the lights that's over their head, they know whatever comes out of Bill's mouth or her mouth, they're going to dissect that.
Exactly.
Because they could have met at a fucking ice cream parlor.
Exactly.
They could have met at a strip club or they could have met at a supermarket. Exactly. We'll never know. But whatever comes out of their mouth, people are going to be like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
What was Bill doing in the supermarket 12 o'clock at night with a young lady, right? Is that what Bill does to find chicks? So I get why they put up the picket fence and they said you can stop there. There's no reason to kind of search anymore. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Come on back. Why Willie Podcast Show. Welcome on back to the Why Willie Podcast Show. We're going to play a little game. Our lovely producer, Brittany Smith, she's going to tell us what we're going to do. What we got, Britt?
Okay, we're going to play real or fake. So we're talking about a bunch of these, we usually talk about a bunch of these headlines where we hear about dumb things or dumb people doing stuff in the news and we can't believe it's real. Let's see if you guys can spot, and there's a lot of fake news going around in the world. Let's see if you can spot the difference between a real or fake headline. I'm going to give you a bunch of headlines one at a time, and then you guys both will guess if they're real or not.
Okay.
All right. First one. World's first sperm race to be held in Los Angeles. Is this real or is this fake?
First what?
Sperm race. I can't give you any more details.
Sperm race.
Yep.
That gotta be fake.
That's your guess?
I'm gonna go real.
And the answer is, it is real. This is a real thing. They're having a startup
race?
A startup founded by a team of young millionaires. And there's two competing schools, USC and UCLA. And they'll provide these microscopic swimmers for the inaugural sperm race. The race will take place under a microscopic camera, and they will spot and see if the sperms will cross the finish line. I don't know what the finish line looks like, but this is a real thing.
Well, it just leads to question. I mean, like,
you up for the race, Big Willie?
I'm just saying, it's not hard to imagine that the black sperm is going to dominate this. What's next, Britt?
Okay, next. Real or fake? Flight forced to land in Boston after man's penis gets trapped in plain bathroom trash.
Say that one more time.
Real or fake? Flight forced to land in Boston after man's penis gets trapped in plain bathroom trash can. You know those little trash
Yeah,
I'm
swats?
gonna say that's fake.
Yeah, that's fake.
The answer is that's fake. I thought that would get you guys. I thought that would get you guys.
What the hell are your dick doing in the trash?
Exactly.
There's a lot of creepy people out there who are doing a lot of weird stuff, so I would not be surprised if that was real.
Yeah, I know there's some necrophilias out there. I get that.
The actual headline I based that off of was a flight was forced to land in Boston after somebody's iPad got trapped in the seat. I think they were afraid it was going to explode in the air or something, so they had to turn the flight around. All right. Next one. Sex toys cause multiple Staten Island homes to catch on fire. Real or fake?
Sex toys what?
Cause multiple Staten Island homes to catch fire.
I'm gonna say
I'm gonna
real.
say real.
Damn, you guys are good. That is real. A guy tried to burn all his sex toys in a bonfire outside his home, and it ended up spreading to multiple homes on the block.
You said a guy?
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, it was a man that tried to burn sex toys. I think it was.
What was he throwing? Like a bag of dildos in a damn bonfire?
One toy was a rubber vagina. It was not clear what the other toy was.
Oh damn! What the hell?
He tried to burn it in his backyard.
I bet you the guy was probably getting married, and he had all this shit in the closet when he was a single man.
Could
and
he just do it in a dumpster?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. The fact that you listen, JJ, we know you're a fan of synthetic toys, so I'm surprised that you aren't surprised by this. But it's wild. What you got, Brett? What's next?
Parrot caught screaming "fuck you" at firefighters and had to be lured down with cigarettes.
Definitely fake.
I'm gonna say real.
Definitely fake.
Definitely real, definitely fake. All right, final one. Answer is it is real. This happened in Sweden.
Hold on, man. A damn parrot? Come on now.
They're trying to rescue it and they're trying to lower it down. And it was yelling "fuck you" at them repeatedly, and in the end, cigarettes got the parrot down from where it was.
Damn.
Yeah, listen, like people buy parrots for the sake of them pretty much, reciprocating whatever they teach them. So like, fuck you or whatever. Like parrots have the ability to say it back. So I'm not surprised the bird learned the F word and the chances are the owner sounds like somebody with smoke who would buy a parrot and teach him the F word. So it makes sense. I get it. That's why
I'm going to get you a parrot, Big Willie.
Yeah, I'll take a bird. Hey, great show. Appreciate it, Jay.
Yes, sir.
Great job as always. I'm Willie Cologne and he is
JJ, baby. We'll see you next week.
Peace.